hedge fund manager sat across from a Harvard dropout and heard something that made rich people pretty uncomfortable. He said, quitting your job isn't actually the risky move, staying in it. And 9 months after he made one specific decision, he was done with his boss forever. Not because he got lucky, not because he found some secret stock. It was because he built one system before he ever quit that made the whole thing almost impossible to fail. By the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly what that system is and why almost nobody explains it this clearly. Somewhere right now, you're at a desk, or maybe in a car, or on a break you're really not supposed to be taking this long. And there's a tightness behind your ribs every single time you think about tomorrow morning. That feeling has a name, but you already know it. Here's what nobody tells you about that feeling, though. You've been taught that quitting your job to build something of your own is reckless, that you're gambling with your rent, your food, your future. That's the story we all hear, right? Well, it's almost completely backwards. The man walking us through this manages over $1 billion, and he didn't start with money. He started with a job he didn't love and a stack of maxed out credit cards. What he figured out fundamentally changed how he saw risk itself. And by the time this explainer ends, it's going to change how you see it too. Section 1, the mental model that removes the fear. Now, here's the part that's going to sting a little bit. Most people who watch an explainer like this will still be sitting at that exact same desk a year from now. Not because the system doesn't work, but because they skip the one crucial step that actually makes it safe. There's this word from Gujarat, a region in Western India that's famous for producing some of the sharpest business minds on the planet. The word is dhando. Translated literally, it just means business. But what it actually describes is one very specific kind of business. It's the kind where you can only win big or lose almost nothing. Heads, you win. Tails, you don't lose much. That's the entire philosophy in one sentence. And honestly, once you understand it, all that fear around quitting, it just starts to dissolve. Think about the founders everyone puts on a pedestal. Take Bill Gates. He left Harvard to bet on software, and literally everyone calls that a massive risk. But look at what he was actually risking. He was a 19-year-old with zero income and wealthy parents living 40 minutes away. If the whole thing failed, he goes back, finishes his degree, and almost nothing changes. There was basically zero real downside. Or take Richard Branson. He wanted to start an airline, but he had $0 in the bank. Instead of, buying a plane, he called Boeing directly, got hung up on 30 times, and somehow talked them into leasing a used jumbo jet that nobody was even using. He sold the seats months in advance, paid for the fuel after landing, and paid the lease after that. The cash was already sitting in his hands before he owed a single cent. That reveals a core truth. That's not bravery. That's architecture. Most people think entrepreneurs are these massive risk takers. Actually, scratch that. They're the exact opposite. The really good ones spend almost all their energy engineering the risk down to nearly zero before they ever commit to anything. Meanwhile, the thing everyone calls safe, the steady paycheck, is actually the one bet in this whole story riding on a single horse. If that horse goes down, so do you. Now, on its own, this mental model doesn't pay your rent. What turns it into an actual exit plan is next, and this is the part almost nobody talks about. Section 2, the exact 9-month system. This is where things get a little uncomfortable, because the advice here isn't to quit today. It's actually the exact opposite. Do not touch your job yet. Someone else is still paying your rent, and you are going to use that fact like a weapon. He had a business idea while still fully employed, and his first move wasn't to march into his boss's office and dramatically quit. It was math. Think about it, 168 hours in a week. Take out sleep, take out the 40 hours his job legally owned, and there's still 30 to 40 hours just sitting there unclaimed. So he made exactly one change. He stops trying to be his employer's favorite. He didn't slack off, and he didn't get sloppy. He just stopped giving away the extra effort that used to make him a top performer. His own words for it were chillingly precise, just good enough that they can't fire you. Every single hour he clawed back from trying to impress a job he was leaving anyway, he poured straight into the thing he actually cared about. We're talking weeknights, 4 hours a night. Weekends, 10 hours a day. Now, here's the brutal part nobody wants to hear. If Netflix and scrolling still feel more exciting to you than building your own thing, well, you're not ready to quit. You're just ready to relax. And those are definitely not the same decision. That switch in your brain has to flip first, or the extra hours won't matter. But once it does flip, the clock starts. 9 months. That's exactly how long it took his side project to become genuinely cash flow positive, making enough money to stand entirely on its own. And only then did he walk in and hand in his notice. And when he finally did, his boss told him something that should literally be tattooed on the inside of every corporate badge. He said, "When your business fails, not if, but when, come back and we'll give you a promotion." That is how little risk was left on the table by the time he pulled the trigger. He didn't jump off a cliff, he built a bridge first, and then he just calmly walked across it. If you remember one thing from this explainer, make it this. The 9 months isn't the hard part. Deciding to stop chasing approval at a job you're already leaving, that's the hard part, and that's where almost everyone flinches. Section 3. The rejection machine. But look, there's still one piece missing here, because none of this works if nobody actually buys what you're building, and that's exactly where most first attempts quietly die. He had no name, no reputation, and almost no money. So what did he do? He built something most people never even think to build, a machine for getting rejected efficiently. 200 letters a week sent to 200 different decision makers, and each one was written to feel personal instead of mass-produced. Not "Dear Sir," it was "Dear Dave," used 3 or 4 times inside the letter so the assistant guarding his inbox couldn't tell if they actually knew each other or not. That right there is the difference between a letter that goes straight in the trash and one that actually gets through the gate. And then, 1 week later, 200 phone calls. If someone didn't respond, they didn't just disappear, they just got called again, spaced a little further out each time. 2 weeks, then 4, then 8, then 16. Nobody left that pipeline unless they personally said, "Stop." And remember, every single week, another 200 letters stacked on top of the last batch, so the calls just kept compounding on top of each other. Here's the number that matters more than any of it. Out of thousands of letters, only a small handful ever turned into meetings. And you know what? That was enough, because one closed deal was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the part that should really bother you if you've ever given up after 6 unanswered emails. 6 is not a sample size. 6 is barely a warm-up. The people who make this work aren't sending 6 messages, they're sending hundreds. And they've made peace with the fact that most of it is going to be rejection. It's not talent that separates the ones who make it. It's having a stomach for rejection at a volume where most people would have quit long before. And once that machine is up and running, once the cash is flowing in on its own, something else starts to happen. Something most people quitting their job never even think about. Section 4. What the freedom is actually for. Let's go back to 1623. A group of Dutch settlers bought the entire island of Manhattan for $23. Literally, everyone hears that story and assumes the sellers got absolutely robbed. But they didn't. There's this shortcut in finance called the Rule of 72. It tells you exactly how long it takes money to double at any return. You just divide 72 by the rate. So, at 7%, $23 doubles roughly every 10 years. Now, run that forward 400 years. It isn't $23 anymore. It's 23 trillion. That's more than a 16th of the entire net worth of every man, woman, and child in America today. All from a return that most people wouldn't even consider impressive. That's not a story about a lucky trade. That's what happens when time is allowed to do the heavy lifting instead of you. And here's why this connects directly back to quitting your job. The whole point of that 9-month exit plan was never just to escape a boss you didn't like. It was to free up your time and your income so the money you save every month gets 50 years to compound instead of 5. Right now, roughly 4% of publicly traded stocks are responsible for almost all the wealth the stock market has ever created above cash. The other 96%, in aggregate, they basically go nowhere. Which is exactly why the goal was never to gamble on finding the next big stock pick. It's to consistently save, get free of the job that's eating all your hours, and just let compounding run for decades instead of years. Freedom isn't the moment you quit. It's the moment your money starts working longer hours than you do. Section 5, the reality check. So here's what actually happened in that story. It wasn't luck. It wasn't some secret stock tip. It was a mental model that made the risk disappear. A system that used spare hours instead of savings, an engine that turned rejection into inevitability, and decades of patience that turned $23 into more wealth than most countries will ever hold. Here's the brutal part to sit with, though. The 9 to 5 isn't dangerous because it's hard. It's dangerous because it is literally the only bet you're making, and you don't even get to choose the odds. If any part of this explainer made your chest tighten a little bit, that's not anxiety. That's your gut finally agreeing with the math. Now, everything I just walked you through only works if the thing sabotaging you isn't the plan, but what's happening in your head before you even start. And that is exactly what I break down next in the explainer you'll see popping up. Because most people don't have a money problem. They have a psychology problem. So go watch that one next. And hey, if this actually shifted something for you today, hit subscribe. We've got a lot more of this coming your way.